are back on another episode of City of Champions podcast. Thanks for tuning in week after week, guys. I really appreciate the support as always. This week we've got former NHLer and Edmonton Oiler Sean Brown. Sean and I discuss his growing up in the hockey world in Ontario, what it was like getting drafted and subsequently traded by his childhood team, which luckily brought him to Edmonton, where he set up a life for himself. Talk about fighting in hockey, playing in Europe, life after pro hockey, and what it's all about. At the end of the day, happy wife, happy life. So, without further ado, please enjoy my chat with Sean Brown. We'll go. I think at the end of the day, like you're talking about teaching your kids, the most important thing is teach them to not be afraid to fail, right? Yeah. Like the last thing you'd want is someone to not try anything in their life just because they're afraid to not be good at it.
Absolutely.
How are you going to know what you're good at unless you first figure out what you're not good at?
Yep. And so, I think sports is such a good learning tool for life skills for that. And, my son's I coach him in minor hockey. He's involved in it. He loves hockey. And I think in learning from my mistakes, growing up, you have this image of an NHL hockey player, and it's like they never make a mistake and they're perfect. They skate so well, they shoot so well, and everything they do, and that's how they got to such a high level. And obviously me getting there, I was like, holy jump'em, I am far from being perfect in all areas of my game. And it was interesting, when I have a son who, is competitive and hard on himself and wants to get better. And that's the biggest thing that I try to get across to him is like, listen, like Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, the best players in the game struggle at different times. Mm-hmm. It's good to see them on TSN and their highlights and to see, when things are going really well, but also understand that they do make mistakes and they're not perfect, but it's what they do after their mistakes, right? Are they feeling sorry? And try to point out, those different learning or teaching moments, so that, he understands that, you can go, through a sport, but you can go through life, making some mistakes, and it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's just learning from them, and it builds, makes you better, makes you stronger for it. So
right. And understanding too that the mistakes that those guys make just happen to be in practice in like a private quote unquote setting, right?
Yeah.
Those guys make 1,000 mistakes before they get that movement right or that execution right.
Exactly.
And that's the important thing, is to learn how not to do it, and then you're able to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's called imposter syndrome too, I think, where you get to a level where you're like, why am I here? Yeah. And because you've idolized that level for so long, and you're like, well, you must be perfect at this or that or the other thing, and you don't realize that it's just incremental gains always get you to your goal.
Yeah. And having played in the NHL, and it's, you are in your driveway or playing mini sticks at one point pretending you are Wendell Clark or Ray Bourque or whatever superstar it is you look up to, and then next thing you know, you're on the same ice with them, and you have to put that aside, right? You're no longer the fan, and you have to have a level of confidence and ability to be like, I deserve to be here with you. I'm still a fan, but I can be on the ice and I can make plays and I can push you too.
Yeah.
And that transition, in that maturity, it takes a while for some guys, right? And that's why I think, the game has changed a lot since I played, and I haven't been out that long, but you have now people in organizations that are in specific roles and in development to help these kids, right? Because a lot of the things or situations on and off the ice, you kind of learn and trial by error, kind of you learn from your mistakes. Where today's game, a lot of it, there's so many eyes on you that they almost have your game broken down, and you're like a spoke in a tire. And it's like, listen, this is how you're going to help our organization. These are the things you're going to do. This is what you're good at. And if you can do this, you're going to play on this team. And we'll get, if you're a defenseman, you play to your strengths here, and we'll find another offensive guy here. Right, and you're just kind of slotted in some ways.
I want to keep going in that vein, but I also want to ask you: did you have that aha moment where you're like, kind of had to give your head a shake, and you're like, these are my idols, but now they're my opposition? Did you get walked at some point, or anything stick out?
For me, it was I remember going to my drafted by Boston, growing up in Oshawa. And, you know, everyone was a big Boston Bruins fan because the Generals were affiliated back in the day with Bobby Orr and all that stuff. So,
right.
You know, going to Boston's camp and seeing Harry Sinden, Ray Bourque, Cam Neely, guys that I grew up, you know, watching and idolizing, and being on the ice, I was such a fan and still such a fan. You know, a couple funny stories was, you know, as excited as I was to get on the ice with them, I was equally as excited to go across the street to the sports store that sold 8x10s of these guys and buy them.
No way.
And come back and ask these guys for autographs. And I remember them looking at me like, you know, wow, this is who let the fan in.
And then you're like, no, my stall's over there.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm asking for autographs and I'm collecting sticks and different things that I still have, you know, in my collection today.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Adam Oates, you know, saying, hey, you know what, you know, like, relax, man, you're gonna play here one day.
Give it a rest.
Give it, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, I was just in such awe and so excited to be on the ice with them and so happy to, you know, collect an autograph and to be able to, you know, sit next to them and share those moments. You know, like I said, I have the stuff on my wall today and look at it quite often, and really throughout my career I was probably, not in a bad way, but everyone knew I collected autographs.
Yeah.
Right. And it was,
so you did that throughout your career?
My whole career. Everyone was like, you know, like everyone was like, oh, well, who's this? It became a joke.
Yeah.
You know, who's this for? Where's this going? Who are you selling it to? And you know, I wasn't selling it. I just really enjoyed collecting it, and I have it today. I have it on my wall, and it's really nice now that I have a 12-year-old son that's a fan. And you know, I used to keep it kind of tucked away, and I was kind of like, for what? Like, you know, let him play with it, let him enjoy it, and this is what it's about. So, you know, and it's funny, the guys that I played with, you know, that were kind of, you know, giving me the gears a little bit. When your career's over, it's obviously not as easy to have access to this stuff, and guys were like, you know, Jesus, I wish I grabbed this or grabbed that, and I'm like, you bugger, you're the one that was giving me the gears, and now you're asking me for certain items and stuff like that. So you know, like I said, you know, even today I'm still a big fan. You know, I don't collect as much because I quickly realized that you can only have so many jerseys and sticks, and there's only so much wall space to begin with, right? But it's cool to look back.
Well, I think that's a really interesting dynamic, and a lot of people struggle with that. The dichotomy of being your true authentic self, like you're just excited to be there and happy to get autographs, but also sometimes they say, act like you've been there before and go in with the confidence. So, I mean, who's to say which way is right? You know, at the end of the day, you're happy with the way you did things. So I guess no matter what, if you're the stern sort of silent type, go that route. But if not, just be like you.
I wouldn't take it back for a second. You know, I was respectful. Like I said, I mean, it's not like there was no way I was selling any of this stuff. It was only because I was a fan of them. You know, and like I said, you got to be kind of true to who you are. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I was able to put it aside when I went on the ice, but
So that must have been tough then, getting traded from Boston before playing for them. Because you grew up idolizing them, but mind you did get traded for a Conn Smythe winning goalie, so that's something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was different. I mean, I was just excited to be drafted and to be, you know, to have an opportunity to even play in the NHL, right? It was nice going to your first camp, and it was, you know, I had lots of great experiences, but there was really no real attachment to anything. It was just a training camp. So, you know, when you get traded, you know, you're obviously back in junior, and you know, it's just another opportunity to play with another amazing organization, you know, with the history of what the Oilers were going through, and then to be traded, like you said, to be traded and be on the news, and you know, to be in a deal with Bill Ranford. You know,
well, you can always say for the rest of your life, I got traded for Conn Smythe winning Bill Ranford. You don't have to mention the other guys of the draft pick, right?
Exactly. So, you know, it was nice. It was, you know, another opportunity to go to an organization that, I wasn't all that familiar with, but had, was rich in history with all the success that they had. So, that was another, hey, I get to collect more autographs.
There you go. I got a whole new conference to work with. So what guys did you gravitate towards right away when you got to Edmonton? Sort of what was the first initial experience there like?
It was good. My first, my first Oilers camp was different than my first Bruins camp, because you learn from your first experience, right? And you're in awe. Like I said, you're kind of looking around and it's new and exciting, and there's really not, a lot of, I guess there are expectations, but I didn't feel any on me. I just went out and played and did well. But then obviously you go back to junior, you're working on your game and working out throughout the summer, and then you start thinking, Jesus, like I want to be a pro, I want to play there, right? So then there's a different, you got some experience of what to expect in camp. So that camp actually didn't go as well, as the camp went in Boston, just because I think I probably started thinking a little too much. Right. But like I said, it wasn't. It was just because I really, really wanted to make it and do very well. But the guys there at camp, when you play the game, obviously, you get guys from all the different major junior leagues and stuff. So it's pretty easy to, make friends with guys that you have played against within your own junior. I grew up in the OHL playing junior, so Boyd Devereux and. Got to know actually Brad Symes. We wind up rooming together. We became really good friends. So it's never hard for hockey players, really. You're so used to moving around and meeting new guys. There was never any issues of ever going anywhere and not finding someone you can gravitate to and work with. Right.
Now, you fought a lot in the NHL. I think I counted 63 professional fights. Did you fight in junior?
Yep. Yeah. You know what? I fought in junior. Junior is a little bit different because you start off, you're trying to make it, and you fight a little bit more because, I don't think my skill was necessarily there. So, my toughness and my ability to willingness to fight kind of kept me, in the lineup, or, I was able to hang around a little longer until my skill got caught up. And then as the better you do, the more space you start to get in junior. And then by the time, I finished up my junior career, I don't think I was fighting nearly as much. I had more ice time, more points, understood the game, and all that good stuff. But, when you get drafted, or you move up to the next level, you're really starting back at zero. Right. You got to prove yourself again. And, I guess the biggest thing in pro hockey is, unless you're exceptional, like a Probert and some of the real true heavyweights, those guys, will always continue to get space and respect. For guys like myself, you're always kind of, you have to, every year you're scratching and clawing to stay, into the next game and try to make a career of it.
And then you went back and forth from the AHL and NHL for your next 2 years, right? And then when you really made the Oilers, and then I think you were like in the NHL for 6 years straight pretty much, did you know at that point that you had made it, or was it a constant, like, I could get sent down any day? Like, how did that affect you?
Yeah, it's I often wonder, you look at guys that, played 20 years and I'm like, there's no way they looked at the game, the same way I did, right from the beginning to the end, you just never felt, or I never felt comfortable, right? You're always, having to make sure that you're prepared and working hard, and your practice habits and game habits, and you just didn't want to, you're always looking over your shoulder. You didn't want to slip. You didn't want to lose your job. And that was my approach. So I definitely obviously enjoyed, my time in the NHL, but it wasn't easy. There was, there's some stress involved, right? Trying to make sure that you're staying on top of your game. And like I said, that would be a question I would like to, and I guess why I asked that or wonder that is because I finished off over in Europe. Yeah. And so when I finished off and playing over there, obviously, the level of play wasn't near, the NHL's the top, and everything else, isn't quite the same. So being in that league, I just, I was able to enjoy it more. I knew I was playing every day. I knew I could perform every day. And so my outlook on life was even different. Like you'd see the leaves change. You would see life going on around you. Right. So, and I remember thinking, wow, like what a great experience it is over here to take in the culture, the hockey, everything. But a part of it is because, I can deliver on the expectations of what they're looking for me to do. Right. Which is making me just enjoy everything.
Well, there's stress by itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
No.
And there's two reactions to stress. There's distress and eustress. Eustress is when people come on. Distress obviously is when it affects you, when you get that fear in your brain and it makes you freeze and you can't think or process something that you normally would be able to do. Whereas eustress is when you get into hyper focus and when you're like, okay, the stakes are high and I'm gonna perform, right? So I mean, I think it's good to always be kind of pushed, but like you said, super comfortable at the end, and you just like, did you find that's where sort of development kind of stalled and you just kind of fell into the groove there?
No, I mean, I know where you're getting, because that's the thing about the NHL is they don't want you to be comfortable, right? And you shouldn't be, because it's a competitive, and that's the top league. And my routine, I guess, was a lot more dialed in. I knew and didn't want to get away from a certain routine that I did that gave me an opportunity to perform or be at my best, right? And like I said, I'm not saying it was a great thing. You learn a lot about yourself and discipline and everything, but when I did go to Europe, my game, I did perform and I did do very well, but it obviously wasn't. The players weren't at that level too, right? You have extra time to make plays. The ice is obviously bigger too, which also helps guys.
Did you fight over there?
No, it wasn't. There wasn't any fighting. I think I maybe got 1 or 2 fights.
Do you think that played a part in being a little more comfortable and relaxed, knowing that you didn't have to? Or how did you even look at fighting when you played? Like, was it pleasurable, or was it part of the job? Or because have you seen Ice Guardians?
Yeah. It's those guys are scary that like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say. I mean, did I like it? I enjoy. I mean, obviously you enjoy it. Like I enjoy
winning.
I enjoy fighting. You always enjoy winning. Losing is never good. There's obviously, there's time, you're not picking and choosing either, which doesn't make it easy, right? I mean, you're playing and sometimes, you might not be in it or you might not feel like it, and it becomes your job, and you kind of have to do it, that's how you help the team, and that's what you can do. And so, to say I loved it, absolutely not. To say I enjoyed it, I definitely enjoyed it. Did I ever want it to be that's all you can do? Definitely not.
No.
Like, I wanted to be a player that could play, that could play in different situations, block shots and be more of an impact in all areas of the game. Plus take care of himself and his teammates too. That was the perfect world, right? And so when I went over to Europe, I mean, fighting wasn't, it was not a part of their game. I did get in a couple, intimidation and the physical part of hockey will always be, I think, a part of it. And but it definitely was. There wasn't as many people that were willing and looking to knock on the door either, right? Which was nice too, right? So you could focus in on other areas of your game.
Yeah. Do you think that the NHL ever goes the way of getting rid of fighting? I mean, players, it's obvious that even the skilled players appreciate getting, stuck up for. And if, lots of them have gone on the record and say, when I've got, McGrattan or McIntyre, so-and-so on the ice, I feel a foot taller. Because, So do you think they ever go the way of getting rid of it?
I don't. That's a tough one. I don't know if I wouldn't like to see them get rid of it completely. I just think it's changing, right? You brought up McIntyre and McGrattan, and there's certain players that when we played, they just the game has changed, right? It's that one-dimensional player pretty much doesn't exist in the NHL now, you know. But what I love the game and the new direction it's going. I mean, the new tough guy or the fighter is just a different type of player. He can play.
You got the Luch or the Nurse.
Yeah,
right?
They can make plays and they can add, you know, they're not so one-dimensional like we talked about. So I think it will always be a part of the game. I think it has its way. That's what makes the game so great, is that these skilled guys are willing to just, be hit, put themselves in the position to get hit, to hit others. It has to be a tough game. Otherwise, it just becomes, somewhat of a glorified, skilled men's league game.
Soccer.
Well, but that, like those, the McDavids and they're tough players in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? They'll always, they're not scared to get that pass, going 100 miles an hour through the middle of the ice, knowing that, Luch or Nurse or, Phaneuf or some big defenseman there is ready to crush them if they can. Like that's tough too.
And it's the accountability too, to keep people in line for not doing the dirty stuff. Right?
Like playing. I played over in Europe and the stick work and certain guys doing certain things. I was just like, wow.
If I could fight, this wouldn't happen.
This would not happen. But the rules are saving you from this, right? And so I've seen both sides. But I definitely. I think it should stay in. I think they're finding ways to, kind of control it, which isn't all that bad either. But I like the new way of the way guy, the premeditated. No one's just coming off a bench and just fighting just to fight, right? And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
So 2 years in Germany and then 3 in Austria, right? So what were your impressions playing over there? Not of the game, but of living in Europe. Was it phenomenal? Was it different than Edmonton?
Yeah, it was like the best experience of my life. And I think that it was because of what I did here, right? I was lucky enough to live out my dream of playing in the NHL, and I never. And I don't think many kids ever think, wow, hey, I want to play over in Europe. NHL is where you want to play and that's your dream. And I was lucky enough to, there's other things I would have liked to fulfilled in my NHL career that I just didn't do. But it was a nice way to extend my career and to be able, the timing of everything of us going over there couldn't have been better. My kids were young, they weren't in school. It didn't really matter where we played. I didn't have to have an international school or certain needs, right? My wife was very open and willing to go and accept, the change, and that's key too. So, when we went, it was just, I can't say enough about it. Like it was hard at the beginning because there was so much structure in the NHL and it was so professional. And when you go there, it's not. And you're so used to so much structure that it was hard. And I was like, man, why don't they do this? They should do this. They should do. And then once I understood that, it was like, this isn't the NHL. This is a different experience. And look at it as that and embrace the fact that they do things different. You will enjoy it more. And once I changed my mindset and attitude towards it, it was just great.
You just let it go, and the sort of European lifestyle permeates into the sports culture there too, right?
Yeah, like take the fact that, there isn't as much structure and they're looser on certain things and they do certain things a different way. It's okay. It works for them in that league. And embrace it. And like I said, when I did that, it made everything that much more enjoyable. And, it's different, right? Because you have to be open to a different culture and how they do things. And like I said, you're not going to go down the street and see Subway or Joey Tomatoes or Earl's or whatever. And you have to be willing to go into restaurants and try new food and
look at a menu with no English
and know nothing. And we loved it. My wife loved it. We loved it. And right through to the end, as my kids got older, it was a dream come true when we finished up in Austria. My son we put him in a private school. He didn't have to, but we tried to really get involved in the community because we knew if we did that, we would meet more people and the experience wouldn't only be good for me, it would be good for my whole family. And so it created a real life for our life really never changed from over here to over there because we got involved and got to meet people within the community. And so when my son had a play date and had some friends over and started speaking German, I was just like, wow, I can leave right now.
Yeah, that's wild.
This is the best thing. And he has lost it now, because when we came back, there wasn't a German school, or we live in Sherwood Park, and there wasn't one in Sherwood Park,
right?
Or there was one, but he was further ahead in his development. Okay. So he would have to go to Edmonton or something. So my wife looked into it, but so he had since lost it, but still that experience, I'm sure, opened his mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And ours in so many ways.
Well, it sets a precedent too, right? Like he's no longer only going to look at the world through North American eyes. He's got that little bit of European perspective.
Yeah.
I was doing a little research on that Austrian team, Klagenfurt.
Klagenfurt.
They were established in 1909.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest franchises over there.
Yeah,
and
it's older than the NHL.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? You deal with a lot of pressure, and fans are very involved and aware of what the Oilers and the NHL, what's going on. And it was really like that over there. Like, they love their hockey. It was a small community similar to Sherwood Park, like 80,000 people. I think they were the winningest organization.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of expectations to win. And I guess I got somewhat lucky when I went there. We had a really talented team that they had put together. So we did win. And when you win at any sport, it obviously makes it makes it more fun. So the fact that we won a lot of games, we wind up winning a championship my first year. We lost out in Game 7. Just made our whole experience that much better, because I was there at a time, and I've heard stories when they didn't have success, it doesn't go that well.
Yeah.
Fan wise, obviously coaches get upset, management, and being a European or being a North American, when you're brought in there, there's expectations. You have to, you have to perform, and if the team wins, everybody wins, but you look good. But when you don't win, it's not necessarily the European guys that are taking the heat. It's the North American guys.
You're looked at as the leaders, the guy who's been in the NHL. The heat's on you, kind of thing. Why aren't you getting us to glory?
Exactly. Right. So I never got, in all the teams I worked with, I'd been with, we had won. We didn't win championships all the time, but we were competitive and did well enough that I never experienced that. But I've heard the horror stories of it going the other way. But and it really helped too. I had a North American coach over there, and I had only North American coaches actually, which was
interesting.
I've heard other stories of having European coaches and the language barrier and the difference in philosophies, and that it can be tough too. But I had Manny Viveros, who's actually from St. Albert. And he had been over there for 20 plus years. And he actually is just back now with Swift Current. But he was great to work with, right? He understood what it was like for North American guys to come over there, and just like I said, those were some of the greatest family times of our life.
Does it give you more perspective on an appreciation of European players coming to the NHL, especially young guys at 18 or 9, like Puljujärvi or whoever, Draisaitl come to the junior?
Yeah, because I remember, you're young, or I was young, and you get Russians and Europeans coming over, and organizations do a good job of helping them adjust and adapt. But I did my part of trying to be a good teammate and doing whatever I could do, but with not really going through it to understand it. I really got that, because now that's me over there, and how much I relied on them. And some of the nicest people I've ever met are over there still. And I'm hoping to, it's hard because life gets busy, everyone's got kids and different things going on, and I'm hoping that the friendships and relationships that we have, I would like to eventually be able to send my kids or have them send their kids over. It's just so important, I think, for kids to be able to experience Europe. It opens up, even if you could just do it once, it just opens up your eyes, and so we made some really good relationships, and then I'm hoping that's something that we can do for both parties.
So how come you came back after 3 years in Austria? You just decided I'm done with this? Or?
Well, because back to the point where it was just good timing when I went over there, right? There was no pressure with school. We didn't have to worry about where we played, what type of schooling was there, was there international schools and so on. So, it gets a little trickier when your kids are in school.
Yeah.
It's a great lifestyle. The money, the opportunities are great, but you are a long way from home.
Right. So,
my wife, we had talked about it earlier, in saying like, listen, when the kids are ready for grade 1, we should, you should probably think about being done.
Right. You should probably quit playing professional hockey.
So I like, holy Jesus. So
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, we taught, and our kids adjusted and everything was good.
Did they want to come back, the kids? Or were they like, why are we leaving?
No,
I mean, they were in this awesome place.
Yeah, they were. I mean, we had a good life. Like I said, I mean, it was good here and good over there.
How is it that you came back to Edmonton? Because you didn't finish your NHL career here. You finished with New Jersey, right?
Yeah. So, my wife's from Drayton Valley.
Gotcha.
And so I met her just before I got traded. And, I really liked Edmonton, obviously. Yeah. It's a great place. Mm-hmm. Sherwood Park's a great place to raise a family. It's so nice coming back here because it's funny. You go to a hockey game or just you go anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's like a small town. You just know people everywhere you go. It's
smallest big city.
Smallest big city. Yeah. It's just funny that way, and it's it's nice to have that feel. Mm-hmm. So I met her and we moved away, but we always kept the house here. Yeah. And so when we had the family. It was either be around my family or be around my wife's family,
right?
And
happy wife, happy life.
There you go. Obviously, they're going to win that battle, right? So but I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have a problem coming back here. I really like it, but we just now out on an acreage, and here we are, and we stay.
So what's keeping you busy nowadays? You've got a couple different things on the go.
Yeah. So. When I was done hockey, I got into the oil industry. Had a few phone calls and didn't know much about it. Mm-hmm. And that's when the oil industry was doing very well. Booming. Yeah. And it was an eye-opener. And man, I was so excited about the opportunity because, it was in sales. But my job was downtown Calgary, but there were so many hockey guys. So it was just like being back in the dressing room. Right. And hockey guys want to work together.
Right. So like old players?
Yeah. Like old alumni. Yeah. So guys that I hadn't seen in a while that I lost track of what they were doing and stuff were in the industry. Right. And so everyone was kind of selling something a little bit different. Yeah. And everyone was so willing to help out. And it was all... it was such a network and who type of business that you go down there and like I said, we just kind of helped each other with leads or opportunities and I really enjoyed it, but it was in Calgary. Yeah. And so
enemy territory.
A lot of driving. Yeah. And so my wife was...
Oh, the wife was here.
Yeah. And so, you're driving back and forth and that drive gets old.
Man, does it ever.
Quick. Yeah. Oof. And so... my wife's like, you know what? Why don't you quit your job? And
second time she's told you that.
Just running my life.
Why don't you quit again? Let's try again.
So then I had ran a skate for a friend, and they liked it. Mm-hmm. And it was natural. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, back on the ice.
Happy, and one thing led to another. And then like I said, my wife's like, well, you know what? Why don't we try getting some ice? And you won't make as much money, but you'll be around more. And we can kind of control the schedule. Blah blah blah. And my son was just starting to play hockey too. So I wind up, letting that job go and getting into this little, hockey development ice times, and one camp led to another camp, and worked really hard at getting or doing a good job and getting more ice. And then next thing you know, we have a little business.
Did it start as Breakout Hockey?
It started as Breakout Hockey, but it just started really small. Yeah. And we were in the community, and it's just funny how it just grew.
Well, it grew because it was good, not because you were trying to make it this massive thing, right? Like it was organic growth.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what was. We weren't. I never thought it would get to where it was today, and it got. Thank God for my wife for helping me manage it and see there was opportunities and. And it was an easy thing to do because it was hockey and what and the fact that my son is involved and loves hockey, it just all kind of came together.
Right.
And then, so from that, then the academy started coming in, and I was lucky enough to meet Andy Oakes, who actually runs the program out in Penticton, and super guy, love their program and what it's about. And so then I started working at the academy at the Glenora Club, and have great people that are involved, really good kids, and so it kind of that too fits within the fact that our kids are at school, not a whole lot going on during the day,
right?
And I'm back when they're done school. So I just feel very lucky to still it's not at a glamorous high level of junior or NHL, but for us and my family, what works best is family time, and having the ability to do stuff together.
Do you find that it allows you to escape from that sort of the it's almost, you said it's not like the glamorous NHL or whatever, but it probably feels more real. It's probably more people who are there for the love of the game. They're not there trying to outshine anyone. They're all trying to improve and just be themselves.
There's no denying that the NHL and high level, like, it is great. Because I got involved when I was away for a while. I got involved with the Oil Kings.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're back in the rink and around some familiar. Hockey's a magnet.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a magnet that sucks you in because you love it, and we're also passionate. And the energy is great.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a big part of your life too, right? Like how do you all of a sudden cut that out?
Yeah. And I don't want to cut it out. Like, I do love it. I love the magnet. It is fun. It is, there is a lot of passion with it. But it is, a really, really big commitment. The game has changed so much, coaching and that side of it, that, it's kind of, you get out of it playing as a player, and then you see that side, and it's like, woo, do you want to go down this road? And it's you have far less control than you did as a player, right? And now you're back in the same stage where you were, to be in, like, it'd be nice to raise your family in one house and for them to have kind of a routine and not be dragging them around.
Yeah. Right.
So those questions, and that's why low levels minor hockey and this younger development suits and fits where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, so does it something I want to do forever? Probably not.
Right.
But my son, like I said, it's a lot easier when your son is in it.
Yeah, you build your career around where your son's at his career. Yeah. You'll get back up to that level eventually, probably, right? But and that's the level where it's really about the love of the game, right? Yeah. Like that's where hockey grows, and it's a reverse funnel upwards, right? Yeah. Like you start with a lot of kids at a younger age, and they sort of the herd thins out as you get older.
Yeah.
But at that level, that's where you're not worried about, you want to win, but you're not like killing yourself to win the game, and not diminishing kids' ice time because they're not playing well, or you're coaching to develop, not coaching to win, right?
And I really like, I remember being the young kid and seeing other pro athletes that I looked up to, right? And some of them were really good, and some of them, were quite quiet. And I was always like, man, if I ever was in a situation to give and pass on some knowledge, I would look at doing it this way, and I would love to be able to be in that opportunity. So I remember what it's like, and you can pass on a lot of good information, and you can really help develop these kids through a sport, but through life too. There's so many life skills and opportunities they can get because they love the game. And so I really enjoy working, with the kids and pointing out not only things they can do on the ice, but how this could help them off the ice.
Right. Because it's not about being the best player, it's about being the best person.
Yeah.
That's a New Zealand All Black philosophy.
Exactly. And this OHA program is exactly what that's about. And I really bought into it because I didn't really, I wasn't, when I first met Andy, I didn't know much about it. And I really realized that, not only are they trying to develop young hockey players, but they're trying to develop young men.
Yeah.
And they really stand behind that. And I think that's really cool and what sets this program apart from others.
Right. So what's your favorite part of every week? What's your favorite thing that happens? What excites you most about this work?
About this work? I don't know. I'm always excited. I love getting up early. I love the start of every day. I'm an early bird.
Yeah.
Because I like to get my sleep, but I also look forward every morning to the next day and how exciting it's going to be and what challenges.
So you're an optimist. Well, you never know what's going to happen.
I love it. I don't I love waking up at 6 a.m. and just a coffee and what do we got going?
Yeah. Do you think that's the competitive side of you? You're like, I'm up before everyone else. I'm ready to go.
I don't know if it's competitive. I'm not sure. I really enjoy, having a good day, winding down at night and being like, man, I can't wait to do this again tomorrow.
And that's what life's all about.
Yeah.
You got it. So where do you go from here? If you could fast forward your life 5 years, what does your perfect life look like or feel like right now?
Well, I mean, I'd like to stay involved in hockey. I'm trying to do, some things, whether it's a little bit of scouting, a lot of it's networking too. And I have some relationships and friends that I've played with in the past that are at the NHL higher levels. I would love to get into scouting or some development in some way, in hockey. So I mean, having said that, it's never easy too because there's a million Sean Browns, right? So it's not.
You're the only one I know of. The only one on this podcast.
There's a million hockey players that are looking to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I would love to be able to stay in the game. I love working with kids, helping them achieve and achieve their goals because I remember like yesterday what I went through and how I looked at trying to get there and looked at professional athletes, and I would just I want every kid to have the same opportunities that I have,
right.
And I want them to have the same life that I like. Hockey has given me everything, and I'm so thankful for what I have, and I would really love all kids to have the same life that I have today. So if I could be involved in hockey forever, that's kind of how I'd like to see it.
What would you have done if you hadn't gone into pro hockey?
Jeez, I don't even know.
What was the answer to the grade 2 or 3 question? What do you want to be when you grow up? If it wasn't
my dad
hockey?
was a fireman, so maybe that would have been something that I would have looked into. I was so focused on it. Like, it's funny when you grow up and the dream was so clear.
Yeah.
To me, and I often wonder with my son and certain kids, like when they dream about it, well, how, what is your dream like? Is it as clear and precise as mine?
Yeah.
Like, I just, I could see it and, was lucky enough. I mean, you need breaks and luck and different things like that too, right? But
you controlled everything as perfectly as you could have. You had the focus, you had the drive, and then everything else just kind of happened to work out. But you can only control your own realm, right?
I think so, and I think I was willing to do some things that, you have to be willing, to say no or to say yes when people say no, because it's not easy. And there's a lot of days where it's gut check, look at yourself in the mirror, right? But nothing is. because you got to be willing to do what the other guys aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what I would have been or tried to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you would have been drawn to hockey one way or another.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you make me want to go back and be a kid getting taught hockey. I had some good coaches throughout the year, but you ooze love for the game and charisma, and I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. I know your time is valuable, and you've got lots on the go with the big family, but it's just been a really pleasurable experience to have you here.
I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed this, and if I can help you down the road or anything I can do, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so Breakout Hockey, and where else do you want to direct people to see what you guys have going on?
That's about it.
That's about it?
Yeah, breakouthockey.ca. We try our best at what we do. My wife and I are very passionate about it. Hopefully maybe some of your listeners will give her a try.
Yeah, I don't know how many have kids yet or not. I don't have the advanced statistics, but we'll figure it out.
Is it off now?
No, not yet.
My bad.
We're going to say goodbye now. All right.
Yeah.
See you, Sean.
Thank you. See ya.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. The incredibly humble and personable Sean Brown. If you know of any younger kids looking to develop in hockey, Sean runs a great program, breakouthockey.ca, and you can also find him on Instagram at Breakout Hockey. Take care, guys.